Hello everyone. Now we'll be doing the chapter Princess September. We've all grown up listening to fairy tales and old fantasies and lores from our grandparents and parents. And somewhere we have imbibed them. We have imagined them and we have lived them. This is another story, another fairy tale that we're going to read by the name of Princess September. This was written by Somerset Maugham. So she traveled extensively into the nature in the world, and she understood the meaning, the significance of liberty and freedom. So this story also signifies a bit of that. Let's first have a quick look at the summary of the chapter. Princess September is a story of a princess of Siam. Siam is present-day Thailand. Nowadays, Siam is known as Thailand. Prince's father, the king of Siam, had a strange idea about naming his children. When he had only 2 daughters, he named them day and night. When 2 more were added, he named them spring, autumn, winter, and summer. Then 3 more daughters were born. He named them again by the days of the week. When the 8th daughter arrived, he named them again by the months. And when the 9th daughter was born, he named the child September. Thus, she was called Princess September. She was the last daughter of the king of Siam, and thereafter the queen gave birth only baby boys. The first 8 daughters had bitter mood as the names were changed more than once. Also, the king had another habit of giving birthday presents. So far into the summary, we see that the king changes the names of his daughters because he wants some regularity, some pattern in naming them so that he can easily identify each one of them. So here first he says day and night, then he gives the seasons, and then he comes to the days of the weeks, and finally he comes to the names of the months. So you just wonder for a moment, if your name was changed again and again and again, say probably 7 or 8 times in your life, how would you feel? What identity would you have? Such was the mood of the princesses. On one birthday, he gave the present of green parrots in a beautiful gold cage to each of his daughters. When Princess September's parrot died, she wept bitterly. Then a tiny bird came to her and sang musical songs. She became very happy. But her sisters advised her to cage the bird into a golden cage, which has been gifted by her father. And when the bird was caged, it stopped singing and did not eat food and drink very well. The little bird was suffocated into the golden cage. The bird wanted freedom from this beautiful golden cage. Finally, Princess September made it free, and then she was married to the king of Cambodia eventually and lived a happy life with him. So now we see that one day the parrot of Princess September, it dies. So she is very unhappy about it, and she is crying bitterly, and she has been sent off to her bed without food as her mother is very angry with her sobbing. And out of nowhere, in such a scenario of distress, a little bird comes and hums, and she sings different songs from all over the world, and she sings of the nature that she has seen. So she sings, and the princess is very proud to have her as her friend, and she shows it off to her parents, to her sisters, and everybody else. Her sisters, as we have already seen, are very moody and they're not very jovial all the time. So they are very envious of Princess September that she has such a beautiful bird, while they just have their old parrots who just say 2 things, praise the king or pretty Polly, which get rather boring after some time. So what happens here is that the princess is very proud, she shows the little bird off, and the envious sisters, whom the princess initially trusts blindly, they tell her that cage the bird or she'll fly away and then you won't have any friend. So the princess, she cages the bird unwantingly. Now what happens? The bird stops eating or drinking or doing anything. Because why? Because think, if you've been caged, why would you sing? What would make you feel happy? Her liberty was her happiness, and that has been taken away from her. So she suffocates. But finally, the princess has a good heart, as we have already seen. So finally the princess sees that no, the bird is suffocating, and she lets her friendship above everything, and she lets the bird free. So finally when she lets it free, it sings again, and she proves her loyalty to the princess by coming back every time she goes out to the nature. So this was the story, and now let's discuss the themes of the chapter. The first theme is that of friendship. The friendship between a little tiny bird and the princess. So initially we see that they have a beautiful bond forming, but due to the envious sisters, the bond kind of shatters a little bit as the princess cages the bird, because she is afraid to lose her friend. She does not want to lose her friend. Now you must understand that she was a little princess, and she did not know at that point of time if it would be right or wrong to take back the liberty of the bird. So she cages just to protect her friend from everything else and to keep her with herself. But eventually she realizes that liberty is very important to her friend, and she has to trust her friend. So this bond of friendship is one of the themes of the chapter. Next we have liberty. So the tiny bird's liberty, the sense of freedom that the tiny bird has, makes her happy, makes her so happy that she can spread her happiness around, that she can sing beautiful songs and make others happy around herself as well. So this was the theme of liberty. Next, a fairy tale. Of course, Somerset has written a fairy tale, and we can see this by numerous things, by numerous elements. One is that here we have kings and queens, which are usually a part of fairy tales. Secondly, we have princesses, and princesses is usually very fairy tale like. Thirdly, we have an talking bird, a bird which sings and comes back to the princess to prove her loyalty. So thirdly, the talking bird is also a fairy tale like creature. Fourthly, and we have that this bond that is formed, it is a very unique bond, and in usually fairy tales we see that we have a happy ending in the end, and even in this story we have a happy ending. The princess is married off to the king of Cambodia, while the evil sisters, they are married off to lower rank officials. So here we see the happy ending also signifies a fairy tale. Another theme is nature. Nature in two ways. Firstly, the bond between birds and humans, that beautiful bond that can stay if humans do not hunt, if humans stop destroying the abode of these beautiful birds. And secondly, nature in the way that the beautiful bird describes nature as the green fields and the clear blue sky. So this nature gives her the freedom, inspires her to sing. So this was about the themes of the chapter. And next we have the question. So let's read an extract from the chapter and try to answer the questions that follow. When he had finished his breakfast, he began to sing again beautifully, that the maids of honor were quite surprised, for they had never heard anything like it, and the Princess September was very proud and happy. So this is the extract that has been given to us. So now let us read the following questions and answer them. Who is he mentioned here? How did the princess met he? So now you have to answer according to the extract. In the extract we have he in the first line, when he had finished his breakfast. So who is he here? He is the little bird that had flown into the princess's chambers, right? So that you will write who is he and how did the princess met he. Now please make it a point that when you are answering who is he question, do not give the background of the little bird with the answer of who is he. Instead, you have to provide the background later when they ask how did the princess met he. Then tell them that after the parrot died, the princess was very unhappy, and that is when the little blue bird flew in. Next question. What mood was the princess in before this and why? What had been her mother's response to it? So you can write this in one flow. Firstly, we know that the princess was crying and she was relentlessly crying and she was sobbing and she could not be consoled by anybody else. Why? Because her little parrot that her father had gifted her had died. And what had been her mother's response to it? She had let the princess, ordered the princess to go to her chambers without having her dinner. Next, How did the princess carry he with her? Why was she proud of he? So how did she carry? She left it free at first, right? So in this you will go by this extract. So again, you can say that later in the chapter she is caging the bird and carrying it around in a cage. But what you must remember is that you have to answer according to the extract given. And in the extract, it is clearly mentioned that this is the time when he was left free, when his freedom was acknowledged and appreciated by the princess. So in this answer, you will not write about the cage, you will just mention that he was left free and went on with the princess. So why was she proud of him? She was proud of him because unlike the other parrots that her father had gifted her and her sisters, the little bird did not say only 2 words, praise the king and pretty Polly. Rather, the little bird sang a number of songs. So that's why she was proud of him. What does she was mindful of etiquette mean? So this is a phrase from the chapter, she was mindful of etiquette. So as a princess, she knew she had to be very polite, respectful to everybody, and everything had to happen in a certain manner. You know, she had to marry the king eventually, she knew that. She had to be nice and feed her birds every day and not cry relentlessly as she had did when the parrot died. So she was mindful of etiquette is a manner in which the princess had to behave, the chivalry she had to show. Next, what inspires the bird to sing? How is it related to the central theme of the story? As we have already discussed, the bird flew out and she traveled far and wide into the green fields, into the clear blue skies, into clear streams maybe, and this is and what all she saw that inspired her songs. That was what she sang about. So what inspires the bird to sing? The nature inspires the bird to sing. Next question, how is it related to the central theme of the story? We have already discussed the themes and we know that nature and liberty are 2 themes on which the story is based, and these 2 things clearly inspire the bird to sing.